Hi, my name is Alexandra Mandelbaum Kupeev, and this is actually one of three short lessons I'm doing on Lикutey Moarан. Hopefully, we'll continue and do those lessons if, Bezrat Hashem, if we'll have enough time, energy, and will. So I'm going to do today. Going to learn Likutey Moharan Hey, which is the fifth chapter of Likutey Moharan, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov's book, and actually one of my favorite books in the world. As you can hear, English is not my native tongue, it's Hebrew and Russian, so the lesson will be delivered now in English, but also in YouTube I'm going to put the same lesson in Russian and in Hebrew. Why am I doing this? I'm not really sure. Like all our dreams, I think we don't exactly know what are the outcomes and the results of the dreams we want and the things we want to achieve. But for me, it will be great honor if you join me for these lessons, and hopefully I will improve from time to time until maybe something, I don't know, will come out from this cool mix of three lessons. So actually you can also respond on the YouTube of the Russian and the Hebrew version if you want to discuss with other people. So actually, I chose this Torah because we're right before the high holidays, before Rosh Hashanah. I think we always try to find something new to interpret our life, ourselves, the idea of tshuva, those times. And I think we are in very difficult times in which we have all kinds of zerot kashot, all kinds of difficulties that and things that people struggle with, both personally on and also on a wider level. So today I'm going to talk about the tzaddikim, the righteous people, the leaders of the Hasidic movement, and especially how Rabbi Nachman is thinking about the prayer of those people. So let's read from the beginning. You can see it in Safari, and also you can Google it. You can find the translation. I can also send you the link. So it's open. I will read the Hebrew and the English versions, and we'll say a few things about it. I'm trying to keep this lesson as short as possible, so busy people can enjoy it and move on with their busy life. So, לשון רבנו זיכרונו לברכה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני וכולי, it's from Psalms. בחצוצרות, with trumpets, and the sound of the shofar, shout out before God, the King. כי צריך כל אדם לומר, כל העולם לא נברא אלא בשבילי, this is from Sanhedrin. Now, each person must say, the entire world has created only for my sake. This is, of course, only half of the saying in Sanhedrin, in the Talmud, but here Rabbi Nachman actually wants to interpret only this part, whereas the whole section talks about the fact that the person have to say that from one hand, have to keep in mind that from one hand he is, the whole world is created for him, and from the other hand, he has to remember that he's just flesh and blood, and it doesn't say that he say afar va'efer. It's dirt. It's afar va'efer. It's not dirt. I will look up for the accurate translation, but he's basically nothing, like dust in the wind. One of my favorite songs, by the way. The understanding that we're part of many galaxies, many worlds, with only one piece, one small piece of it. And from the other hand, the Talmud, it's not Rabbi Nachman, it's the Talmud written way before Rabbi Nachman. The Talmud asks us to remember and to kind of bear in mind this dialectical mode of the fact that we're nothing and everything at the same time. But here Rabbi Nachman is not interested in the whole dynamic that's presented in the Talmud. He wants to take the first part, and he actually interprets it in a cute way. He says, נמצא כשהעולם נברא בשבילי, צריך אני לראות ולעיין בכל עת בתיקון העולם, ולמלות חסרון העולם, ולהתפלל בעבורם. Okay? Because the world was created for my sake, I must constantly look into and consider my ways of making the world better, to provide what is missing in the world and pray on its behalf. Actually, the Hebrew version, which is a translation of the Yiddish version, of course, says pray for their behalf, like the oilam, the people in the world. I read it as like for the human, not the world, yeah, but the humankind, the people, even the non-Jewish people. This is how I read it, because usually Rabbi Nachman uses the oilam like to say people that are not only us, not only the small Hasidic circle. So here he moves to a different question, which is like quite surprising. He's going to ask, okay, praying for the world. Nice, I like it. He's going to ask, how does a tzaddik, how does the righteous man know, how does he know that his prayer is actually going to work? And why is it complicated? Because if the situation is that God already decided that some a man or somebody, some, I don't know, nation, I don't know, somebody has to like get their punishment for their deeds, so he won't change his opinion. This is also quite strange idea that we have to consider, but not now. But then Rabbi Nachman is saying, the righteous man, he can change God's opinion in some of the cases. Some of the cases are still open. The verdict, the gzar din, it's not really, the judge haven't decided yet, or he just wrote the gzar din, but it's not final. So the tzaddik can influence on the decision and all the things, and he can pray, and like it's like imagine if somebody, God forbid, like is sick or something, right? So the situation is unclear. Even the doctors don't really know, right? Sometimes it's not really clear. So the tzaddik can say, let's do some work. Let's pray for this person. Let's say his name, his mother's name, and he will be cured. Okay, but then Rabbi Nachman is disturbed. How does the tzaddik know? How can he get this like magical ability to know whether it's before it's final or after, whether it's changeable? And then his answer is going to be quite like unpredictable for me. He says like this. And in the matter of prayer, there are two approaches. Before the decree has been issued, we follow the regular order of prayer, and there is no need to veil the prayers. But after the decree has been issued, our prayers have to be distinguished. Okay, here, okay, I see, interesting. Now he's like entering into Daniel. We won't enter into this interpretation of this interesting pasukim of Daniel, where the Rabbi Nachman discusses, okay, what kind of spiritual work the righteous man does when he knows the situation of the prayers. Okay, there is still something that he can do, because if it's the decision already decided, still he can do all kinds of like mystical tricks, I will call it now, so the prayer will like come up and God will hear it. I know it's kind of complicated to imagine God as like the prayer. Imagine the prayer as something which is not automatic, right? Suddenly Rabbi Nachman opens all those natural questions for us, like who's the person that prays? How can he prepare to pray? What does he know about the situation, the spiritual situation, and how can he change it, right? And then he asks, but how do we know whether it's before the decree has been issued or after, right? So how a person can know? Now, I would say maybe the righteous people know because their spiritual level is very high. Maybe they're like super smart. Maybe they meditate. I don't know, something like this from the sphere of like spiritual, even intellectual work. No, his answer is a bit different. He says like this. ודווקא כשעושים המצוות בשמחה גדולה כל כך, עד שאין רוצה בשום שכר עולם הבא. אלא הוא רוצה שיזמין לו הקדוש ברוך הוא מצווה אחרת בשכר המצווה. Yeah, and after this he will say that by this a person is becoming a kind of person that knows what the situation of the spiritual situation of the issue that he's praying on. And this is specifically when a person performs the mitzvot with such great joy that he has no desire for any reward in the world to come. Instead, his only desire is that the Holy One provide him with the opportunity to do another mitzvah as a reward for the first mitzvah. As it, and in the saying of the sages, the reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah. From Masechet Avot, right? Schar mitzvah, mitzvah. For he derives pleasure from the mitzvah itself. And here it's a super interesting point. Rabbi Nachman is pointing out that what makes a person a righteous one, it's not only like doing the mitzvah, yes or no, or doing the right thing, doing God's will. Now we move like not to the world of praying, but the world of doing, like who is the person, what kind of person like prays to God. And here he's talking about a kind of quality that I think I'm very puzzled with. It's not about doing the mitzvot and doing the right deeds. It's about whether or not you do it with joy. And I think it's kind of banal for people who knows a little bit about Hasidut, but for me it is still interesting to see how Rabbi Nachman and many other Hasidic writers insist so much on the point of joy, on this, the idea of joy for them. It's not only just a great way to live life. Their joy is actually the highest or the most potential way to be in contact with the higher and the spiritual levels. So the joy for them, it's not only like a tool, it's a kind of, like my friend Rachel just told me, it's a kind of a channel, right? It's a channel that, because it's open, because they used to do mitzvot, not because they want just to get a reward in the world to come, but they want to do the mitzvot because they're having so much joy by doing the mitzvot. This is a like big level. I think it's a big expectation, I think, for a lot of us, because a lot of the mitzvot, we kind of don't like them, I think. I know a lot of mitzvot and a lot of people that are not connected to certain mitzvot. There are a lot of mitzvot that are commandments, that are not clear to us or we're not interested in doing. And even the word joy, like what makes us joyful and happy, I think it's not necessarily connected to mitzvot. So I think this is interesting for me, because sometimes when we look a bit at Rabbi Nachman, we only think about, I don't know, general joy, general simcha. I think it's there. Okay, it has other texts also about despair and being happy and being joyful, but I think also here I do want to insist that we see that the mitzvot is very important to him. It's not only a thing that he takes it aside, but here he says it's actually important channel, that doing the mitzvot with joy opens a special channel for the tzaddikim, which will allow them to pray, to make effective prayer later on. And then it has a great division that I really like, actually, between the prophets, between all the prophets and Moses. They say like this: this is the difference between the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu and the prophecy of the other prophets. It is similar to Rashi's commentary to Moshe spoke to the tribal heads of the children of Israel, saying, Ze hadavar, this is the word. God has commanded. Rashi explains all the prophets prophesied with ko, says God. Ko adaber. Ko amar Hashem, ko amar Hashem. Moshe achieved even more than they, that he prophesies with ze adaber. For ko corresponds to a dull-looking glass, whereas ze hadavar corresponds to a clear-looking glass. Clear-looking glass and dull-looking glass, it's in terms of aspaklaria, this beautiful Aramic word that expresses glass, the quality of the glass as the way, the quality of the prophecy that all kinds of prophets got, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, was considered to be the best, but it's not he's not the best because the amount of the times God has spoken to him, or just because he's like he spoke to him, like he gave the Bible to him. But the Gemara also, they say the Bible also, and I think Rabbi Nachman is kind of like referring to it, that his quality is different. He's just different from the other prophets. The other prophets are connected, and this is when we don't have a lot of time, but I will say it shortly. But the other prophets are always talking about the future, what will happen to Am Yisrael in the future, whereas Moshe Rabbeinu is more זה הדבר, this is the thing. He's more involved, his prophecy is much more in the current moment. And I know it's like a very free interpretation of Moses, but I think it's a great one because it kind of like shows us like a different quality of spiritual work. And in this world that Rabbi Nachman tries to convey us, like to follow, it's not about like just doing things in the future, or that somebody will count us our good and bad deeds in a kind of like judgmental world. It's about staying connected to God through the doing of the mitzvot and the commandments with joy. In a deeper level, where you can see if you're interested, you can read it further in this Torah, you will see that the joy, it's not only the human joy, it's actually the joy of God himself. He will talk about also kind of like a pleasure, right? He will talk about those things that are usually connected to more sensual, like field things that make us not only joy, but also like kind of like a sensual joy. He will talk even about God. He will say like this, כי המצוות הם קומה שלמה. I will now read it in English in a minute. המצוות הם קומה שלמה, ומכין את כל העולמות, הן קומת אדם, הן קומת עולם, הן קומת שנה. כי עולם, שנה, נפש, הן מקבלים החיות מהמצוות. כמו שכתוב, וכל מעשהו באמונה, וכתיב כל מצוותיך אמונה, והקדוש ברוך הוא אחדות פשוט עם המצוות. This is because the mitzvot form a complete construct, and they give life to all other constructs, whether it will be construct of man, or construct of world, or construct of year. Yeah, like all kinds of the dimensions are all held by the mitzvot. And in the end it says, all your mitzvot are faith, thus the Holy One is in simple unity with the mitzvot. The word simple, it's not simple at all in Rabbi Nachman. Simple, of course, refers to also all kinds of like philosophical notions about God that is not divided. It is one. It's like something that the philosophical stream and way of thought was very, very contributed to the notions, that God is like he can't change. He's one. He has one unity. So I think in the end, he kind of like refers to this Rambamistic way of thinking, but here I think it's very radical because he's using this pashut, but he's going to say something very interesting, that God actually has emotions, feelings, a lot going on. כשמעשה הקדוש ברוך הוא כתיקונן, אז הקדוש ברוך הוא משמח בהם ומתענג בהם. Therefore, when the Holy One's works are as they should be, and in proper order, the Holy One is happy with them and delight in them. As is written, God rejoices in his works. Like a craftsman who makes some vessel. If the vessel is beautiful, then he delights in it. And the joy of the Holy One is clothed in the mitzvot, because they are his unity. So mitzvot, I feel that this is like an inner like beautiful and joyful place of God himself. It's like the inner side of God. Sometimes in mystical thought, we will see texts that talk about mitzvot as levushim, as something that surrounds the Holy One, as something that like expands in the world, like the materialistic world. Like in the end, a lot of mitzvot, a lot of commandments connect to things that are materialistic stuff. You do mitzvot, you do charity with money, you help people with a lot, sometimes, not all, but sometimes it's a lot of materialistic things involved in this process. So we have the thought that those mitzvot as a shield, as a garment, as something outside, and here it's something different. I think here he has a different vision. I don't know if other places it's like this. He has all kinds of sayings about it, but here it's very beautiful because the mitzvot is kind of like the inner joy, the inner happiness of God, and it's not about a certain content. Like by doing them, even the simplest one, you are kind of like connected to this unity and joy, and therefore the righteous man, when he is in this stage, it's like automatically he'll know what's the situation and of the prayer, if it will be effective or not. It's not because God has given him a kind of words to his memo or the message like, this won't work, you have to pray like this. It's just like a simple connection. And I do think that Rabbi Nachman is kind of like challenging us. Well, I said to myself, it's kind of challenging. It's challenging for me to think about mitzvot, joy, as part of kind of like mystical and work, which is not necessarily intellectual work. So the divine and like connecting to the divine through joy. And I think it's very, very interesting. And next lesson we will expand this idea and like go a bit deeper in this Torah. As you can see, I'm very I try really to follow Rabbi Nachman's text and don't give that much interpretation for my side, but this is like my style. Hope you like it, and you welcome to comment. And again, sorry if I had because I had all kinds of mistakes, grammar mistakes. Sorry for all the professors. Hopefully you won't hear this video. So I really welcome you to write me, to subscribe, to do whatever, and we'll meet you in the next lesson. As I mentioned, you have this lesson both in Hebrew and Russian. If you want to hear me, I don't know, again for some crazy reason. Bye.